Well, welcome to another episode of the Freedom Filled Life. Joe is kind of busy today, and so I'm out exploring around, and I happen to be at the Lighthouse on Tybee Island. So let's go climb the lighthouse and see what we can see in this area, all the information regarding the lighthouse. There is a lot of information here, so let's take a look and see all about the lighthouse. The Tybee Lighthouse. A lighthouse on Tybe was one of the first public structures in Georgia, completed in 1736 by William Blythman of cedar piles and brickwork. Its 90-foot height made it the loftiest in America. Destroyed in a storm, it was replaced by another built by Thomas Sumner in 1742, which Oglethorpe called much the best building of that kind in America. It was almost entirely rebuilt in 1757 by Cornelius McCarty and James Wims. In 1773, John Mulrine built the third lighthouse on a third site. The Mulrine Lighthouse forms the base of the present structure, making part of it of colonial construction. In 1791, Georgia ceded it with 5 acres to the federal government, partially destroyed by the Irish Jasper Greens of Savannah during Union occupation of the island. It was repaired, and today is one of the famous lighthouses on the eastern seaboard. Here we are at the lighthouse on Tybee Island. It's a tall lighthouse. We can actually go up in it if I want to climb all that way. There's several markers here at the base of it though, and we're going to start by looking at those. The first Tybee Island day mark. When James Oglethorpe established the British colony in 1733, he recognized the need for a lighthouse on Georgia's coast and ordered that one be built on Tybee Island. When the wooden tower was completed in 1736, it stood 90 feet tall and was the tallest structure of its kind in America. Unfortunately, the tower was constructed too close to the ocean's fury, and it fell during a severe storm in 1741. So the second Tybee Island day mark, 1742 to 768. The second lighthouse was constructed on Tybee Island in March of 1742. It stood 94 feet tall and had a 30-foot signal flag on top, giving it a total height of 124 feet. Oglethorpe called the second Tybee Light much the best building of that kind in America. Like the first Tybee Light, the second would be built too close to the ocean and would also fall victim to storms in 1768. The third Tybee Island day mark lighthouse, 1773 to 1861. The third lighthouse was begun in 1768 and completed in early 1773. To further prevent loss to the fury of the Atlantic, the third light was constructed well inland, away from the wave action, storm surge, and beach erosion. The third lighthouse was constructed of brick and wood and stood over 100 feet high. The lower walls were 12 feet thick and were designed to help protect it from storm surge and support the 15 lanterns used to illuminate the lighthouse beacon in 1791. Rebel forces occupied Tybee Light until November of 1861, when they retreated to Fort Pulaski about a mile away. The fort's commander, Charles Olmsted, sent volunteers to destroy the lighthouse by setting it on fire. So the third Tybee Lighthouse survives destruction. The destruction of the lighthouse was a disappointment to Olmsted and the Confederate forces. Olmsted stated that although fire entirely destroyed all the woodwork of the interior, the solid brick shaft was left standing like a chimney. And in 2 weeks or so, the enemy had rebuilt the stairway and established a signal station at the top. The fourth Tybee Island Lighthouse, 1867 to present. Following the war between the states, the United States Lighthouse Service decided to rebuild the Tybee Island Lighthouse in 1866 due to increased ship activity in the South during Reconstruction. The Lighthouse Service reclassified the lighthouse as a first-order light, which needed a tower that was 150 feet above sea level for the 9-foot-tall first-order lens. Once the lower 50 feet of the old 1773 lighthouse remained with its 12-foot thick walls, 95 feet of new tower were constructed using part of the old tower as its foundation. With the completion of the 145-foot-tall first-order lighthouse in 1867, the Tybee Island Light Station took on a new importance as a major aid to navigation. Until recently, 1,000 watt bulbs were used in the most first order Fresnal lenses. The light produced by the 1,000 watt bulb combined with the magnification power of the Fresnal lens can be seen for over 20 miles at sea and can be measured in hundreds of thousands of candle power. The second bulb was in place as a backup bulb. The 1,000 watt quartz halogen bulb is what they've started using in 2010. The first order Fresnal lens, Tybee Lighthouse, was reclassified as a major aid to navigation in 1866, and a first order Fresnal lens was installed in 1867. The lens, with a height of 9 feet and a 6-foot diameter, has 320 glass prisms. Lard was used to keep the light lit in 1867, kerosene in 1887, and electricity in 1933. This one talks about the focal plane. How high does a lighthouse need to be? The higher the light, the farther it is visible over the horizon. Changing day marks of Tybee Light. The lighthouses were designed to have different paint schemes or day marks on their exteriors. This made the lighthouse recognizable during the daytime when the light could not be seen. Once established, it was rare for a day mark to change. However, Tybee's lighthouse day mark has changed 7 times during the last 145 years. This is apparently what it looked like. Oh, this is other Georgia lighthouses. So who controls the Tybee Lighthouse? The Tybee Lighthouse was originally built and controlled by the British Crown. After the Revolutionary War, ownership was transferred to the new colony of Georgia. In 1790, Georgia transferred ownership to the new federal government and the U.S. Lighthouse Establishment, which would eventually become the U.S. Lighthouse Service. The control of the lighthouse and the light station remained with the U.S. LHS until 1939, when the U.S. LHS was absorbed into the United States Coast Guard. The United States Coast Guard operated the Tybee Island Light Station as a United States Coast Guard station until 1986, when they moved to the neighboring Cockspur Island. At this time, the USCG kept ownership of the light station, but partnered with the city of Tybee Island and the Tybee Island Historical Society and stayed open to the public. Finally, in 2002, with the passing of the U.S. Lighthouse Historical Preservation Act, ownership of all but the light was donated to the Tybee Island Historical Society, who maintains and operates it today. The reclassification of the Tybee Lighthouse as a first-order light required significant changes to the light station. It now required 3 light keepers, so housing had to be constructed for them and their families. The light station was located on 5 acres of land, which afforded ample room for housing and vegetable gardens. The keepers and their families enjoyed the mild climate of Georgia compared to the brutal winters of New England and the Great Lakes. They also enjoyed the beauty of Tybee Island with its marshes and beaches compared to the often austere and remote stations along hostile New England coastlines. Everything associated with life of a lighthouse keeper carried the responsibility of hard work. Duties were divided not only among the 3 keepers, but among their wives and children as well. The family members therefore shared in the happiness and hardships of Tybee Island Light Station. Here's a journal of the Lighthouse Station, written by Mr. John J. Egan, Second Assistant. And then here's the Cockspur Lighthouse, the Tybee Knoll Light on Cockspur Island, the Old Harbor Light in Emmett Park, River Street, Savannah, the Texas Tower at the mouth of the Savannah River, and and the Front Range light just off the north end of Tybee Island. Let's look at going into the lighthouse here.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you going up?
Sure, why not?
All right. So, take this with you. Bring it
Okay.
back when you come down.
Okay.
178 steps.
Okay.
There's a landing every 25, so stop, catch your breath.
I probably will need to.
I think everybody does. First two levels date back to 1773.
Okay.
Rest of the place to 1867, and we are still an active aid to navigation. So the Coast Guard actually owns the lens
Okay.
and the light.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy yourself.
And here's the first landing. We can look out the window. Let's proceed up to the second level. This one looks over the parking lot. Cullen G. Chambers, 1950 to 2014. Integrity, dedication, and leadership. And let's look out the window here toward the ocean. Looks like we cannot actually go on the outside area. And the area above here is blocked off. And this door did not seem to open. So it's locked. It says the dome in the ceiling above is made of metal. At the top there's a ball vent through which air can pass. In the evening, the keeper would climb to the top of the tower and check the wind direction. He would then adjust the air vents in the lantern room so there'd be just enough of a draft to allow both the fumes from the oil burning lamp and the condensation it created to exit out the ball vent. This is the fuel storage building of 1890. The fuel storage building was completed in 1890. Its red roof marked that there was flammable substances inside. This is where the keepers would have kept their fuel for their light. Note that the metal roof, brick walls, and a brick floor, which was an attempt to make the building fireproof. As you can see, there's lots more information inside the building here. And here's several people that had been of service over the years. Here's the first assistant keeper's cottage, 1885. It was built after the previous brick dwelling burned. The house is the same floor plan as the head keeper's cottage, at just one square foot. I don't know where that 1 square foot would be, but that's an interesting distinction. This building was the second assistant keeper's cottage of 1861. It housed soldiers during the Civil War, and in 1867 the second assistant keeper was assigned to live in this cottage. So there's the actual cottage. I don't know if we can go inside or not. We'll find out.
Status is an active Coast Guard station until 1986. In 1987, the Tybee Historical Society took...
This house was the head keeper's cottage of 1881. After the previous dwelling had suffered extreme damage during a tropical cyclone that hit in 1871, the house was rebuilt for a sum of $6,000, which would be about $160,000 in 2021. See if we can take a look inside here. It's like they had a storage area in the eave. This one's open. Quite a bit of space in there. This is the keeper's garden. It says, please enjoy our garden, but do not pick the fruits of our labor. They're there for the current keepers. And so if we take a look over here, there's the garden. This was the summer's kitchen of 1812. It's the second oldest building on the property. All of the cooking for the site was done in this building until 1910. Most places had cooking away from the main homes to reduce the likelihood of fire in the houses and to keep them cooler in the hot summer months. There's several signs on the wall. And we have several artifacts here down below. And more signs. I'm not going to read each one of these. And then here's more artifacts down below. The garage of 1936. With the creation of the Tybee Road in 1923, the automobile came to Tybee Island. This meant that the keepers could have a vehicle to help them work and move around the island more freely than before. With the addition of the automobile came the need for a garage. I think the garage is now the gift shop. Well, what did you think of the lighthouse and all the areas around it? It's definitely a lot of interesting information here. I climbed to the top, a little taxing. I was breathing pretty hard by the time I got to the top, but that's somewhat to be expected, 178 steps to the top. So, hope you enjoyed this episode, and join us again for more episodes of The Freedom Filled Life.